Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video in the comments series. I've got a great one here for you today. This is a video by Bedros Keuilian talking about the destruction that happened in a lot of cities around the U.S. Antifa, Black Lives Matter groups destroyed certain cities, burning down and actually creating a whole bunch of havoc, in these mostly peaceful protests, as you'll see him talk about here. But we're going to watch the video first, and then we're going to jump into the comments. But before we do that, I have a couple of requests from you. If you like this content, give me a thumbs up. The idea is to spread this far and wide, right? The idea is to amplify truth and to amplify what's happening in our country so that we can wake more people up. So like it. Leave me a comment down below, even if it's a thumbs up or a heart. Let me know if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel for more. Turn on the bell if you want to be notified. Watch until the end if you can. That really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And last but not least, I always want to invite you to check out the Focus and Flow store at focusandflow.co. There's a link in the description down below. That's products and apparel for conscious creators, including a bunch of digital downloads, books, and such. Digital downloads are coming, but you can find a bunch of stuff there to help you create the dream that you have inside of you, right? You're a conscious creator, and all those products and apparel are to remind you of that. So that's my spiel. Let's jump in here. We're going to watch the video first, and then we'll talk about some comments.
Those of you that are asleep at the wheel, let me explain to you what's happening in the world right now. We are exactly 3 years away from the pandemic that took place in 2020. And what exactly happened during those mostly peaceful protests where the government allowed Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all these peaceful protesters to burn down cities. You look at cities like Minneapolis, Minnesota, and hundreds of other cities like that. Let's look at Minneapolis, Minnesota. What was a street corner that had a Starbucks is now burnt down and boarded up. What was a street corner that had a beautiful mall is now burnt down and boarded up. And why does this happen? Why did the government allow these protests to happen that were so violent and so detrimental to those cities? Because when the government allows that to happen, the value of all the properties go down. They erode them, they break them down, and then developers and investors buy those buildings at a discount.
They need to generate money.
And then guess what happens? They give a kickback back to the government who allowed these things to happen, and that is how wealth is exchanged. Wake the up.
Fantastic. Fantastic. This is why I ask you to share this video if you can, because we've got to get the word out of what's happening here, and wake as many people up as we can. So let's get in here. Wow, makes sense. Yes, it does make sense. Thanks for the comment. Truth, turning them into 15-minute cities. You betcha, right? You're the man. Well, I try. I'm just sharing what other people are finding out. I'm amplifying truth on my channel here, because I'm not going to live in a world where we're overrun by corrupt politicians and their little buddies in organized crime and the bankers and the usual suspects. Here's an interesting one. This guy says, we are up. What can we do? Solution. So thank you for bringing that up. If you're looking for solutions, it's currently called The Patriot's Guide to Saving America. I am in the process of rebranding it to something like The Human Being's Guide to Saving America, or The Human Being Guide to Saving Humanity. But nevertheless, you can pick it up at mypatriotguide.com. That's the solution, right? The solution is do not comply. I'm going to break down a few things for you here. Do not comply. Question these assholes big time. Whenever your government comes to you with a solution, you question them big time. Don't let them get away with this anymore. Think for yourself. Get as much out of the system as you possibly can. Protect yourself and your family. Some people are actually leaving the country. Right? That's like the end game for most people, because they see, hey, once you combine the complete disaster the education system is, the complete disaster the financial system is, and the dollar, the impending probable collapse of the dollar, the joke of a medical system. And I have to preface also by saying I have had good doctors, and I know people who've had good doctors, and I've had good treatments, but I'm talking holistically. It is very clear to many people that the medical system has been virtually completely hijacked by Big Pharma. And Big Pharma is super corrupt. My point is this: people are getting out. You know, I'm not there yet, but it's an option. Um, let's see, Portland, Oregon. This guy says Portland, Oregon. You bet. L.A., Portland, Oregon, Seattle, New York, probably some in Chicago. Any Democratic run city, you're going to find this bullshit. Wake up. Listen to Catherine Austin Fitts. She completely explains it. She does. I've got a couple of videos on my social media at G Mark Phillips. Phenomenal from Catherine Austin Fitts. Um, this gal says, I never thought of it from that angle, but it totally tracks. Yes, it does. You know, people think their government's there to serve them, but governments have always been an intermediary to transfer wealth and to generate wealth, right? And use the people's tax dollars in the most inefficient way possible. I've got an awesome video coming up in the Hot Topic series. I want to say, it might be someone from the John Birch Society. It's phenomenal, but he talks about that. He says one of government's roles that they never tell you about is to use your money as inefficiently as possible. That pulls as much money out of the American people's pockets as possible. And many people are seeing that lately. This gal says, oh, yes, for sure. And it drove a lot of people away, including me. I sold my home for $125,000 more than I paid for it. I got very lucky, though. Yes, she did get lucky, because that's what happens. If you're caught in the mess of this wealth transfer, you might have a rude awakening, because governments didn't do shit to stop those riots. And what do we pay them for? To protect people and protect assets, and they didn't do it. They pick and choose. There's another comment that says, so what do we do about it? I'm going to screenshot that because, well, I don't know how to do it on this particular phone. I'll do that later. Again, I'll be focusing more on that in future posts. Let's see. Same with the war-torn countries, but we've so kind of go in and rebuild everything for them. Yeah, that's a great comment too, because look what's happening in Ukraine now. Bombed the shit. We allowed Russia, and who knows who bombed it. It's a disaster. But is it JP Morgan or a couple of the bankers like, oh, you know, we're going to help out now? And whose money do you think they're going to use to do that? You and I's money. It's bullshit. They make money off the war, and they make money off the rebuild. And guess where it comes from? You and I, the pocket of you and I. Add it to the national debt, right? The U.S. may give them a bunch of money to rebuild, but who pays that back? You and I pay that shit back. Bingo, this guy says. What are you even talking about? BlackRock isn't remotely interested, and they arrested every single protester involved. I'm not sure what that comment is. No lies detected. We need to get in one of those cabs and buy back the block before the government goons get their hands on them. You know it. Thought that when it happened. NYC did that to the Lower East Side in the 70s, so they can buy it up for nothing. Nothing new under the sun. See, what happens is I don't have a problem calling myself a conspiracy theorist, because I've seen this shit a number of times, and I can learn and read and understand shit. What happens is speculators and real estate investors and bankers get together with governments and say, hey, we want this aspect of the area of the city, because we see that people want to live there and we need to put people there. So they go in, devalue that area, allow it to just total go into ruins, and or burn the shit down. Everyone leaves. They buy up the properties, they gentrify it, they put in new stuff, people come back, and they just made millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. It's crazy. It's a scam, right? All you got to do is pay attention, open your eyes. Let's see. We're awake, but vote fraud must be stopped. You bet it must be. We can never have what happened again in 2020 with our voting and all that bullshit mailing ballots, which we now know were a complete total scam. Look up opportunity zones. 95% of all the protests/riots took place in these areas. Check it out. It was a land grab. Thank you for commenting on that. Opportunity zones, right? The government is always involved with crap like this. Happens, if you ask me, enough already. This is a cycle. Big time. It is a cycle, right? It's how they generate wealth, and it's called regentrification. You know it. There's a comment. Anyone else know that the bond, stocks, and property was bought out all throughout the nation from 3/2020 to 8/2020? It was under that contract Trump signed in up to that 2 weeks lockdown. I don't know about that, but I will look into it. Malls are not beautiful. Nope. Time to hold all the corrupt politicians accountable. We will never face a peaceful life with these people in power. Amen to that comment. Amen, and no, we won't. Wake the F up. Farmers have crop rotations. Globalists have financial cycles. The military have wars and peace. It's all just crop rotation. We are the crops. Baller comment. Dude, nailed it. You nailed it, right? Wars and pandemic generate millions, if not billions of dollars for the global bankers, the global banking cartel. And you ask yourself, why on God's green earth would they not promote that shit? And they do. And they do. Hotep. That's what we were talking about with the violence. That's taking place here in the city. They are allowing these outbreaks to take place so the property value will drop in new development for step in. And speaking about those groups, they were funded by one man, George Soros. Amen to that. And yes, they were. And you anything that guy touches, you want to be real skeptical about, my friends. He is no bueno. And now I'm assuming they're meaning his son is taking over. However, that's good for him. I wish to make is that doing those riots, you can see the police department as well as the Fed was involved to destroy properties too. It appears that way. It was all caught on film. However, what they really want to provoke is martial law. I do agree with that, right? They want to create so much chaos and destruction that they come in and say, okay, well, we got to step in now and run this joint. That should be interesting, wouldn't you think? And it wouldn't be your government. Oh, no, they would be private contractors like Blackwater. I believe that's the case, yes. Thanks for the comment. Check the declining markets and how they affected your refinance. It's called gentrification. The government promotes a violent cycle in order to financially benefit. So this wasn't a problem for you. This is the comment that got me. I read this comment, and as you'll see, I have a reply here. I'm glad we're into this now. The government promotes a violent cycle in order to financially benefit. So this wasn't a problem for you when you witnessed it in colored neighborhoods for decades, huh? And that hit me right here because that is truth. That's truth right there. Interesting that it's suddenly a concern for y'all start seeing the fuckery for yourselves, acting like this mess is a newsflash. You only care now because it's in your hoods now too. The government doesn't care about your color. It only cares about green. Amen to that. Maybe if some people would have stood up for us instead of thinking it could never happen to you, we all wouldn't be here today. And another amen to that. And guilty as charged, I have to admit, sadly. Something to think about other than useless pandering regarding shill movements that never represented anyone. Your chickens came home to roost. You should have cared years ago. What I wrote was, this is fair, and yes, I should have cared years ago. I was selfish and unaware of just how deep the rabbit hole goes. COVID woke me up quite a bit. Thanks for your comment. Yeah, guilty. And I'll say something else. I always saw the government fucking around with people that wasn't me, and I was like, oh man, you know what? It sucks to be them. Until finally the government did that to me and said, hey, we want you to put this medicine in your body. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm never going to put that shit in there. You got to have shit for brains if you think I'm going to trust you. I know what you guys do to people. I know how you operate. I know your ethics and your morals. I know all the shit. So no way. It woke me up, and this comment hit me real hard because this is all truth right here. And now that I'm turned on, as you can see, I'm sharing information about what the government does to black people, what the Democrats have done to the black community. It breaks my heart. I'm sharing it all. I'm exposing it all. I got a video coming up talking about the Sound of Freedom movie. Check it out. Makes 100% sense. It's despicable and immoral what these protesters did and how the government was in on it. You know it. Maybe this is why Disney, Coco, and other high-end brands left San Francisco. God forbid they do something destructive there with their lasers. Yeah, you people, welcome to the party. It's called gentrification. It's currently going on in the Bronx. It is going on in the Bronx. Let me talk a little bit about gentrification and why I was so interested in this right here, this particular video from Bedros, and wanted to share it. I've got an 11-part series on my YouTube channel here all about upzoning, which is basically a fancy word for gentrification, a different word for gentrification. Cities are doing this now. it's they're kind of falling. Some are saying no, it's bullshit, which it is bullshit. Some are saying yes and buying the propaganda and drinking the Kool-Aid. If this shit is happening to your city, I urge you to get involved and testify and promote and get the word out. I made that 11-part series because I want to help share the truth. I looked at 11 articles and 11 studies in areas all around the country. The Bronx was one of them. There were some in Vancouver. There were some in I want to say, I can't remember exactly where the places were, but some of them were general. And what I found, it is a scam. If you don't want to watch the whole 11-part series, the 11th video is my conclusion where I share 10 takeaways. And then that in and of itself will bring you up to speed. But bottom line, if your government is promoting it, it is probably a scam. And you know what? Let's go all the way. It is a fucking scam. Be very careful of those people, my friends. Thank you for watching. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this video. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.